This is my house.
Why is Sydney Sweeney such a hate magnet? I just watched the new Sydney Sweeney film, Immaculate. I reviewed it mostly because of this story, and I note with some dismay that a previous video of mine asking people to please leave Sydney Sweeney alone fell entirely on deaf ears. It may be because almost no one watched it, but in that I argued that Hollywood has a long history of destroying young women like Sydney Sweeney and like Britney Spears, and can people not do that to Sydney Sweeney or just anyone else, please? I don't get it. Sydney Sweeney just needs to exist, and some people see that as a reason to choose violence. Miss Sweeney was in the news again in the last week after she came under attack by a veteran Hollywood producer called Carol Baum after a screening of her film Dead Ringers in New York. She was being interviewed on stage, and according to accounts, she just started railing against Sydney Sweeney for reasons. Carol, who teaches at the USC School of Cinematic Arts, said, "I said to my class, explain this girl to me. She's not pretty, she can't act, why is she so hot?" So that is Sydney Sweeney, this woman, being described as not pretty by this woman. Yeah, checks out. And pretty is very subjective. Sydney Sweeney has her own distinctive look. Her face is maybe a bit girl next door, while her body's a bit Jessica Rabbit. And she looks healthy enough, that's good. Just leave her alone. She's fine as she is. I don't want to have to go crazy and get plastic surgery, which has been happening to Hollywood actresses with frankly worrying frequency. I'm not convinced that any of that's fair criticism. I would hope a veteran producer would know better than to judge an actor's skill on the basis of one performance. I would hope the acting ability would be more important for an actor than the prettiness anyway. And frankly, I found her acting in Immaculate to be above average at least. Far better than she was in Madam Web. It kind of helps that there's something in the script for the actor to work with. But that seems to be where we are now. We're stuck on superficial. And does Sydney Sweeney need to match your definition of pretty anyway? There's a lot about women that appeals to straight men, and it does not stop at pretty. Some women are not so much pretty as they are hot. Flowers can be pretty, whereas hot is, I need you to get on the kitchen table right now. Now, some women can be both. I suppose I need an example. It's fine if Sydney Sweeney just appeals to men, and I'm past sick of other people trying to tell me what I should find attractive. And no, PC gamer, it isn't a bear. You frankly need to seek therapy. A bear will eat you, and not in a good way. Baum is quoted as saying, "There's an actress who everybody loves now, Sydney Sweeney." And I don't love her. I do, however, kind of love this picture of Ana de Armas in this t-shirt. Not going to lie, that's pretty outrageous. I'm just going to admire the photography here. It has very nice framing, although frankly, it may be a little cold by the look of it. Is it fair to attack people for their looks? And I ask this knowing full well I have in recent times made jokes about Walton Goggins' looks and Willem Dafoe's looks, and I quite like both of them. I suppose I'm more protective of young women than I am of them because they're grown guys who can hopefully take a joke, whereas young women seem to take it to heart and go mental, then get stuff injected into their faces and have bits lopped off. Carol added, "I don't get her. I was watching on the plane Sydney Sweeney's movie, Anyone But You, because I wanted to watch it." She stated, "I watched this unwatchable movie. Sorry to people who love this movie, this romantic comedy where they hate each other." The movie being unwatchable is a claim that would seem to be disproven by your earlier claim that you watched it. Now call me Mr. Pedantic if you want, but how can it be unwatchable if you watched it? In response to this, Sydney Sweeney made a heartfelt apology and took to Twitter wearing this t-shirt. And I do like that she has a sense of humour and likes to have fun. It's also just the right kind of sassy. So I was doing some research into this video and I found just bucket loads of comments from what seemed to be women writing evil things about Sydney Sweeney. Female cattiness and jealousy can be something else. It kind of reminded me of the song Rip Her to Shreds by Blondie, and there doesn't seem to really be a male equivalent. I can't say I get this instinct from women. There doesn't seem to be the same hate party for Henry Cavill coming from men. My search took me to an article in the left-leaning UK paper The Observer on the Guardian website by a writer I used to read a lot called Barbara Allen, and the article was titled, "So Sydney Sweeney's not pretty and can't act. Such insults by a woman, play into men's hands. And hold up. We have a story here where for some reason an 81-year-old woman and veteran producer decided to verbally attack a 26-year-old actress. And it's good that Barbara Allen has identified the real problem in the story, which somehow seems to be men in her view. Women attacking each other plays into men's hands apparently, and allows them to divide and rule women. Meanwhile the men are standing off to one side while two women argue, doing nothing and somehow getting blamed for it. There's a quote from Aldous Huxley that seems to apply to all of this. The surest way to work up for a crusade in favour of some good cause is to promise people they will have a chance of maltreating someone, to be able to destroy with good conscience, to be able to behave badly, and call your bad behaviours righteous indignation. This is the height of psychological luxury, the most delicious of moral treats. And that's where a lot of people seem to have landed. Right on that delicious moral treat, a world in which it's fine to abuse Sydney Sweeney. She's after all the wrong kind of woman, and men shouldn't like her anyway. Where it's fine to be racist as long as the target's right. Where it's fine to be sexist as long as it's directed towards men. Where it's fine to have religious prejudice as long as it's pointed at Christians. In the article, Barbara describes herself as an out and proud and bittered harridan, and frankly now, that seems like it's a job requirement to write for The Guardian.
Of course!
Never rub another man's rhubarb.
And Bob Iger's like, "Nah, master,